Today is July 18th, 2013, with Ray Parker Jr. in Montreux, in the Montreux Palace now. And I wanted to ask you, it's strange to see you in Montreux without an instrument, very relaxed. So how's Montreux for you this year in 2013?
Well, this is my first year in Montreux without an instrument, and I am just vacationing. I actually had a little bit of surgery done at the beginning of May, and I'm taking 7 weeks off vacationing. And is there a better place in the world to be than surround yourself with music and all my friends in Montreux? So I thought this is a wonderful place to be.
Why do you like it so much?
Why not? The weather's beautiful, the music's beautiful. Claude has created such an unbelievable atmosphere to be in, and I'm here with my wonderful friends, and it's just can't get any better. And this week has been unbelievable. I can't believe what the rest of the week's going to be. The music's been fantastic, and I got a bad feeling that I might have to grab a guitar and sing before the end of the week is over.
And you think you will do it?
I will do it.
Oh, great.
I mean, after all, who are you going to call?
Wonderful. But let me ask you, did you get to know Claude?
Absolutely.
In which circumstances did you meet
Claude
him?
was an unbelievable individual. I'm going to say his life was like the perfect storm. I mean, you take a person with the means, you take a person who just absolutely loved music, and also he was a people person. He knew how to make the artists feel comfortable and was very, very kind to all artists. And what I thought was really, truly amazing is there's different parts of the world. Like sometimes I'd be in Japan, for instance, or Indonesia. You turn around and you look, and there's Claude in the place or the venue where you are. Just came to see the concert. Just popped in. Clearly, you look around and says, "Hey, that looks like Claude Nobs." And he just come to the show. I mean, he really, truly loved it that much. And you know, you go to the chalet here, and he'd host the artists, and he'd show you all the relics, and he'd spend time with everybody, and he really made everybody feel special. And I think part of what makes me feel good about coming here and what makes this so special is the goodwill and the happiness and the goodness that he created here, and that special feeling that he created. This doesn't feel like, to me, I'm performing or just going to another concert. It's a very special, good spirit here.
When did you first meet him?
I'm going to say 2002, I think it was. I was here with Joe Sample and the Crusaders playing.
How did it happen, this first meeting with him?
I think it was just at backstage. I think it was just backstage. They introduced me to him, and he was just a wonderful guy, very gracious, very knowledgeable, and we just had a lot of fun.
At that time, had you already heard of him?
Oh, of course. Everybody's heard of Montreux Jazz Festival. It's the biggest thing in the world ever since I was a little kid. You know, you hear about Miles Davis and all the famous great guys, you know, ever since I was a little kid walking around. So it was one of those things I'd always look forward to. I was like, I want to go to Montreux. But it seemed like it was a million miles away, because I'm from Detroit. You know, when you're growing up in Detroit, it seems like it's a million miles away. And I used to know some musician friends like Michael Henderson who'd played with Miles, and he'd come back, yeah, we play with Montreux, you know, and they have it on their, you know, luggage tags and tickets. So it was always a very, you know, upscale place to play, and everybody always wanted to come just to see it.
Did you have a chance to talk to him with him about your most popular Ghostbusters?
Oh, absolutely.
What did he tell you? Do you remember what he told you about it?
What he told me about it?
Yes,
well, he loved the song. He thought it was an unbelievable song, you know, and of course I told him, you know, it was
We have to
#1.
agree with him.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, it was one of those unbelievable songs. It was #1 in 51 or 52 countries around the world, and, you know. And I think up at his chalet, he was showing me at the time, he had a Prince Purple Rain album, and I was telling him, yeah, Prince was #1 for a few weeks, and then Ghostbusters knocked him off the chart. So, you know, and he's also a good friend of mine, so we were having that conversation just a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Since we talk about Ghostbusters, I'd like to know in which circumstances you happen to have written that song.
Well, believe it or not, my parents had gotten sick one year, and I had sort of retired from the business, not because I just didn't want to play music anymore, but I actually wanted to go home and take care of my mom and my dad, who were sick in Detroit. And I hadn't done anything for a year, and some friends called me because they wanted me to help them with this movie. And I remember the sign was on Sunset Boulevard. It was just a black sign. Each week they put another piece to the puzzle. You know, so you could see first with the circle, and then they put a little ghost in, and, you know, just pieces to it. And they said that they had hired a lot of people to write this song, but they thought that my lyric content or my comedy in it would be just perfect for this film, and would I please help them? So I ended up working they only had a few days. I guess they tried everybody else and they couldn't think of anything. And the guy thought, his name was Gary LaMelle, who ran Columbia Pictures at the time. He thought I would be the perfect person to write this song for the film. And I guess he was right, you know. So I went in to do this, it took a few days, and hence we have Ghostbusters.
Did you wonder, or have you got an answer to why he thought you were the perfect guy to do it?
I have no idea why he thought I was the perfect guy, but he was right though.
Oh, you must have a clue, no?
No clue.
Yeah.
I just think something about my demeanor or something about the way I smiled or whatever. He thought I'd be the right guy to take a crack at it, you know. And I'll never forget, they made me an offer whether I keep the money, whether they liked the song or not. But they were in a hurry because the movie was getting close to coming out.
There's so much spirit, so much humor, so much, I would say, color and sun even in this song. When you think of Ghost, you know, and write it as if ghosts were just sunbathing all day. That's the way I feel your song. You know, how did you manage, you know, to put I would say sunglasses to your ghosts, so to speak?
Well, how about this? Everything you just said is factually true. At the time I was dating this 18-year-old girl. Maybe she was 17, but let's say she's 18 for the moment.
That's right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We were running out of time, first of all. Okay, so time crunching is an interesting thing. The director sort of told me how he wanted the music to sound, that kind of bar band, disco-y, up-tempo. So that part was easy. And I remember in the middle of the night, I was looking at commercials on TV, and I saw some commercial. There was I think it was an insect repellent or some kind of roto commercial or something like that, where they had the backpacks on. And to me, it looked like a spot at a movie where these guys had their backpacks and they were shooting a thing and had the phone number of them. And I remember that. And I thought, that's the secret to it. The reason why no one's been able to accomplish this is everybody's trying to sing Ghostbusters, and you can't sing it. So I don't know if you noticed, but in the song, I never actually say the words Ghostbusters. I just sing Who You Gonna Call. So it's like a commercial, and the crowd sings Ghostbusters. And because I was dating this young girl, I called her up early in the morning, right before the messenger was to come pick up the thing. And I got her friends from high school, which is where we get the big crowd. We got about 8 people from high school. I said, you guys got to be in school by 8. Let's do this at 6:37 in the morning. All I need you guys to do is when I go, who you gonna call? You shout, Ghostbusters. And they were so happy. And they were a bunch of beach kids, you know, with suntan, you know, valley kids. They were so happy to do it. They just screamed at the top of their lungs, Ghostbusters. So you get that excitement and that, you know, that eagerness. I think if I had, I don't know, I was 28, 29 at the time. If I had a bunch of people my age, maybe they wouldn't have carried off that much excitement, you know. But because it was their first time ever in a recording studio, they were so excited. You just got that excitement on tape. And I think it was a really exciting moment.
By the moment the video was shot, you had people like, I saw Peter Falk, for instance, Mr. Colombo.
Yeah.
What was he doing in this clip?
Yeah. What happened is, first of all, there was only a minute and a half of music for the film, because it was just supposed to be in the library scene. And then all of a sudden, the director loved it so much, he said, well, let's make this one of those soundtrack, let's make it a 45, let's make it a song to go on the radio. I said, but we only have a minute and a half of it. He says, well, make it longer. So then we had to go back and take the tape and copy it and stretch it out. And within doing that, you know, by the time they got to a video, I said, well, wait a minute. I've got 7 or 8 gold and platinum albums of me singing love songs to girls. I never sang to a ghost before. How are we gonna make a video of me singing to the ghost? So I was a little reluctant to even do a video on Ghostbusters. I said, well, if you include the Saturday night live gang, which was, you know, like the Eddie Murphys or the Dan Aykroyd and the Bill Murray, if you put those guys in the video with me, maybe we can make a joke of it and it'll be all right. And Ivan Reitman said, well, we'll go one better. We'll put all those guys in the video and we'll get a whole bunch of other people in the video and we'll make it a big fun video. So that's how that came about. Yeah.
And they accepted easily, like Peter Falk, for instance.
Yeah, yeah, everybody. I guess, you know, Ivan Reitman was the big director at the time. He went around the movie studio and held the camera up to everybody's face and said, just yell Ghostbusters, you know.
Fantastic.
So everybody started doing it.
And the result, of course, we know what it was.
Yeah.
And once again, congratulations. This was really incredible.
And it's an interesting thing. As many records as I've done, and I've had a lot of hit records, maybe I think it's 38 or 39 really big records. That record is so huge, it sort of overshines some of the other records now. Everybody reminds, there's that guy, who you gonna call? But at least they get a smile on their face and everybody's happy. Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yes.
About your background, it's, you know, before this, you already had quite a bit of success, you know.
Yeah.
You were asked by Stevie Wonder to play with him, etc., etc. Let's go back to your first background. One could imagine that being junior, you could be on the line of great musicians before, but that's not the case.
No, it's not the case. My dad worked at Ford Motor Company building cars, and he also wanted me to build cars. He's what you call a blue-collar worker, and he wanted me to get an office job working for Ford Motor Company, designing car parts, sitting in an office. Just wasn't my thing. I mean, look at me. Could you imagine me in a suit and tie, you know, cutting my hair and being clean shaven? It just wasn't my thing. I've always wanted to be a musician and play the guitar because I've always loved music.
You studied extremely early. Yeah?
Yeah, first group I went on tour with was the Spinners, and I was 13 years old. And then I started playing with Marvin Gaye at 14, 15, and, you know, different bands in Motown, come from Detroit. And so I've always been musically inclined, and I've always loved music. And then I got with Stevie Wonder at 18 and went on tour with the Rolling Stones, and at 18 with Stevie Wonder.
I was told that when Stevie Wonder called you, you thought it was a joke. Is that
I
right?
hung up on Stevie Wonder several times because Music from My Mind was my favorite album of all time. It was the only record I had in my car. And when this guy called me on the telephone saying he's Stevie Wonder, I just knew it was one of my friends, you know, playing tricks on me that day. And he said, you know, we keep getting disconnected. Why are you hanging up the telephone on me, you know? And I said some words, language not acceptable for TV, you know, say. And he says, wait a minute. And he played me the rhythm track to Superstition, where he just put the drums. And by the time I heard the Moog synthesizer come out in the clavinet, I knew I was talking to Stevie Wonder. So that was a really big moment for me, and I decided to drop out of school and go hang out with Stevie Wonder, and I went to Stevie Wonder College or university.
How was it working with him?
It was wonderful. He was the one who taught me how to write songs and taught me how to put the pieces together. I used to have little bits and pieces of guitar songs that I was composing on the bus, and he would actually get the record playing at his expense, by the way, and take me in the studio and actually show me what my songs could be. And we had, at times we had Buddy Miles, not even playing the drums, but playing guitar on some of my songs, and other famous musicians would come in, and he'd arrange the background singers and the horns, and in his vault are duets of him and me singing together.
This was in the 70s?
In the 1972.
Mm-hmm. And so the decade after, which was really the big years of disco, this is really, for you, was it a natural evolution towards that direction, or how did you see the disco years?
I didn't really see any disco years. When you're that young, you're just trying to get music out, you know. Some of my first really big successful records were with Herbie Hancock. I did a lot of Herbie Hancock albums, the VSOP album Live at Carnegie Hall, and Herbie was a good mentor to me. He cut a lot of my songs, and most of the songs that I were nominated for Grammys for were songs I wrote with Herbie Hancock. In fact, one of the songs on one of my earlier albums is written with Herbie Hancock. So I always envisioned my first trip to Montreux was going to be with Herbie Hancock, but it didn't happen because I ended up having my own career and leaving as he was coming here.
Herbie Hancock, who comes almost every year to this festival, and he's also written various music, and his evolution can be followed just as the festival himself.
Yeah, well, I probably have, I don't know, at least a half dozen songs I wrote with Herbie Hancock. They were nominated for Grammys, yeah.
Ray Parker Jr., you probably know that UNESCO has recently decided to put the whole audiovisual collection into the memory of the world. This decision was taken a few weeks ago. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew that would happen, by the way.
Sorry?
I knew that would happen sooner or later. It's the largest collection of music has to be in the world, you know, of this magnitude.
But the fact that it's now recognized as part of our world culture, what does it mean to an artist like you?
Well, to see my little face on there somewhere, even for just a moment, is just part of history. I think it's something that will be remembered for hundreds of years. I really do. Just like you see the paintings of Michelangelo in the Sixtine Chapel, I really believe that 1,000 years from now, this is going to be part of history. This is what people are going to remember.
And also the fact that blues and jazz for a long time was sort of regarded by, let's say, by the so-called good people as just a lower kind of music versus classical. What do you think of the fact that today it's really the entrance by the big door as part of our culture?
Yeah. I think that's just the natural evolution of history. If you look at history, there's lots of things in history that nobody seemed to care about. They kicked the can around like that. And then 500 years later, like, give me that can. It's worth $1 trillion. You know, people put more value to it later. I think that's just the way man is. At the time when you have it in your hand, it's sort of like a good woman, right? When she's your woman, who cares? As soon as you lose, it's like, oh my gosh, that was the best woman I ever had. I want her back. You know, all of a sudden the value becomes increased when you can't have it. I think that's just human nature. You know, and I'll say for myself, when history is being made and you're actually part of the history, you have no idea how valuable it is. You know, some of the records I made with Marvin Gaye, I don't even have pictures of us doing it together because I didn't know that it was going to be that big of a deal. Now I just wish, where's the camera? Where's the camera? I should have took this picture, I should have took that picture, I should have did this, I should have that, and you just don't know, you know, because there's no value to it. And part of, like they say, the wisdom is wasted on the youth. You know, once you get older, you realize this has so much intrinsic value to it, you know, and now you're just so proud of it and you want to hold on to it, you know.
When you think of the remarks that you had, for instance, of your family, your father who wanted you to be in another direction, and you show what you've done as a musician, do you also recognize among your friends and family this type of recognition? Mm-hmm. What do they say today when they see what you've done?
They're pretty shocked. It's interesting being a musician because you're an idiot until the day you become successful. Then you become a genius. So there's not a lot in the middle. There's just idiot, genius, idiot, genius. And the transformation happens overnight. When you're unemployed and you're just a starving musician, you're truly an idiot. Everybody's in the family's like, you ought to get in the job. We told you, why does he keep doing that? You know, he ought to do something. Then all of a sudden when you make that transformation over, he's a genius. Stop. Everybody listen to what he's, you know, thinking about. And so for the real true musician, you can't really picture yourself doing anything else anyway. So what a real musician wants to do is to not have to have a day job. A real musician wants to play music for a living. And it's not really how much money you make. That would be nice. It would be nice if you could buy a sports car or so. But a real true musician wants to play music for a living and just, you know, live nicely, but play music for a living. When you fall below that, that's when a real musician has a problem. Right? As soon as you say, that's fine, but you don't make enough money on Wednesdays, you got to work in a restaurant. That's the first time a real musician has a problem.
You're a first-generation musician in your case, but yes. I saw on internet that your children now do incredible songs, also very, very joyful, very positive.
Yes.
So your children are musicians.
Yes, I have 4 sons. My oldest son was a really good musician. He can play, but he chose to be more of a business guy. And I have 2 young ones. They're now 13 and 15. The video you saw them in, they're like a year and a half younger. Very, very talented. Whether they'll take, you know, following my footsteps, I don't know, because I call them rich kids. They have other choices. They got tennis, they got basketball, they got football, they got video games, of which I don't approve of, but they just have many, many other things. So they don't seem to be as dedicated to the music as me, because I just practice 8, 9 hours a day. But they really do love it, and my youngest son sings great. He's got perfect pitch, and they have all the instruments and studios ahead of them. So that's part of the future that I look forward to. I like to see what they're going to do. I just want to live long enough to see just what they're going to do, you know, and see how interesting that'll be.
Talking about the future, Ray Parker Jr., what are your dreams now in 2013? What do you really wish to do with your music or with anything else on life?
Well, believe it or not, I was just talking to my friend Ola the other day. I always thought that 2013 was going to be a bad year because it's the year before I turned 60. And all my life is like, 60, oh my gosh, you're old, that's it. You can't, no more excuses, 60, you're just old. This has turned out to be one of the best years for me ever. Everything has happened great in 60. I helped some friends of mine get a star on Hollywood Boulevard. Clive Davis wrote a book and wrote a whole chapter about me in his book. And just things have been just happening unbelievably well, musically as far as everything else. I found out this year, you know, Quincy Jones nominated me for a star on the Walk of Fame, and I'm actually getting a star on Hollywood Boulevard next January. So I got to stay healthy and everything for that.
Congratulations.
So that's good. I'm here with you guys in Montreux, and the weather's beautiful. I'm having a wonderful time, and I've heard great music. So I'm actually having a time of my life. And I have so many musical ideas right now. I'm working on a new record, which I'm going to do this year because this is such a magical year. I figured it'll be a hit if I finish it this year. I got to write these songs this year while the spirit is in the air.
Absolutely,
right?
do it. What kind of direction do you go to for this album? I can tell you exactly what I'm cutting. I'm going to call it, for lack of a better word, funky rock and roll. And rock and roll now is I don't know, it's almost what you call smooth rock because everything else is turned into techno rap music, let's say. But it's gonna have a funky edge to it like the 80s, you know, 80s music with a little more maybe rock edge to it because I like to play the guitar. And I'm just gonna sing my stories in that same genre with up tempo, upbeat, a little hard edge where I can do it on stage with maybe a 4 or 5 piece band. And really have a good, I got lots of good ideas. I got things going in my brain and all the stories now that I got, because now I have a whole new generation of life experiences. You know, I won't be singing about what I did at 20, but I got stuff to tell you about what you be going through at this age with your wife or ex-wives and kids. So I got a whole new generation of stories to tell now. Here's what really amazes me more than anything. And I saw a picture of Claude Nobs at an early age, and this is back when he started Montreux, I think it was 1967. And I'm not sure what age he is, but he was really young, black hair, glasses, the whole thing. Everybody has wisdom when you get older, but how did he have enough knowledge to put all those ideas together, to film it, to put the financing together, to put the music together, put all those things together at that early of an age? Right, like I look back at him, I was not nearly that mature at that age to even think about the concept of pulling that off. Right, I looked at his face in the picture, that he looked like a little kid, right? I'm looking at the little kid like you did. You know, that to me is truly, truly amazing. I mean, the whole thing he did is really amazing. But when you look at that picture of him, and then you look at what happened at that age, and what was he thinking about at that age was way past what I was thinking about at that age. It's just truly, truly amazing, you know. So I urge everybody to go look at that picture of him in '67 when he was putting everything together. I think he had some glass on. It's just truly amazing what he was thinking about, what must have been going through his mind at that age, and the vision to start that tape library and everything, saying, oh, we got to document this, we got to put this together, this is going to happen. It's almost like he knew today was going to happen back then. Right, now remember, I already told you, if I knew some things were going to happen, I'd have a lot more pictures and a lot more other things going on. I didn't know that. So that's pretty amazing to me. Beautiful lesson that he leaves us.
So with that, I'm going to say, I love you, Claude Nobs. Thank you so much, and thanks so much for having the vision. And here we are at Montreux, 2013.